before we proceed could be better. Otherwise, we'll over. So it's open a bit slow. Yeah. Yes. I will go back to the question there. Just give me a while here. Maybe we go to Dr. Tai. Dr. Tai Liang, are you there?
Sorry, yes?
Yeah, I saw some question just now from your side, like you said someone who is expert.
Yeah, I typed text based on some of the questions, so I think a lot of you guys, you just check the chats much later.
Okay, maybe I'm not clear for you what I mean expert. Yes, the researcher who proposed the idea is expert, but does not mean there is no other people expert in this field from his colleagues, his friend, who can read and review. And what I mean by sometimes expert here, if because one of our colleagues asked, shall I add someone who is well known, maybe in the field, then the publication can be easier. In fact, this one can influence maybe because some people who's well known in the journal, like one editor of the journal or whatever, their life or publication is much easier because of they are famous, and the people expecting from them high quality one, their acceptance rate might be higher, might be. But what I mean here, if you really want to add someone, add based on his contribution, meaning that you can consult them, ask them to review your article, then you fine, is to add them. But if just to add them just for fun or to have additional chance without any contribution, this is not ethical, not only for you, also for those professionals, so-called, who accept, right? Hope this is clear. Is it clear for you, Dr. Tai? Can't hear you, Dr. Tai. Can you hear me?
Sorry, what was the question again?
No, it's not a question. I'm commenting on your question. I'm saying for this, what you call it, expert, because some of the research, if they want to add someone who is well known in the field, so their publication can be easier. So my comment at that time that it's possible to add someone who's famous or well known, but also let them comment and review your article to have some responsibility, some contribution. But if there is no contribution at all from their side, then unethical, it is very unethical to add them, and it's not ethical for them to accept, right? I hope this is clear. The main person proposing idea should be second author. Isn't that stealing the paper as lead? I don't understand, Dr. Chai, your comment here, the question. Who's stealing the paper?
No, you just commented on the unethicalness of people taking over and taking over as lead because even though he didn't contribute or things like that. That's some of the comments on the previous things. Like I said, those chats are just like at the time.
Okay. Yeah, so this one, I would like to seek your permission to, oh yeah, it's okay, no problem. Then we can continue now from where we stopped, no issue, I think. Maybe some of you left earlier, I'm not sure, but I will highlight it quickly, the main important point in abstract before I move into the next one. Yeah, this one here. For the one who never attend the abstract, we say abstract is very important, and it's very important to keep 10% introduction, 15% objective, 20% methodology, 50% research and result and discussion, 15% conclusion. It's not, we don't balance it by gold balance, you know, it's something like roughly. So it can be 10 to 15, this one 20 to 30, this one 30 to 50, is something like that. I hope this is clear for abstract. We share with you certain example. Even for review articles, now we are moving to the keywords. Keywords should be enable the manuscript to be more easily identified. So you will need to use suitable keywords. Certain journals does not allow you to write keywords. They allow you to select keywords from their system. This one mainly use the keyword for indexing, meaning that the people will write something similar to those keywords, then they will get your paper. Commonly from 4 to 6, some never limit them, but this is the acceptable one. 7 could be okay for some journal. As mentioned, some journal will give a list to choose from. This is a review article. By going to the word, I have landfill leachate, I have absorption, activation carbon, activated carbon, food waste, microwave, conventional, and so on. So we have here around 7. And for this review, you will ask me how to write the abstract for review paper. You don't have results, right? I would say it's the same. You look to this one. First, you have introduction, and recently, what is the recent issues here, right? And then objective, maybe the introduction here, because it's just review, a little bit longer, but not covering the whole abstract. The first part, introduction until treatment efficiency. Then in this study, this is the objective, right? What we have done. Then we talk about the method, what we study here, performance, removing treatment, impact, whatever here. We also, the method of collection, what kind of data we focus on collection and reviewing is considered like my methodology. Then focusing on the result, the significance of the issue, sustainable environment, particular. So although there is no quantitative data in this abstract, which is review article, but still I'm trying to keep my sequence from introduction for attractivity, aim to show the new of the work, the novelty, then the methodology of data collection, then the what we call it, the result and discussion, then the conclusion part for this one as well. Now from keywords, I'm moving, of course, for keywords also, some reviewer will ask you to avoid abbreviation. Remember, you are writing keywords, not key statement. So don't use renewable energy from solar sources. No need. You just use solar energy. You just use renewable energy, but don't use full statement, right? So something like this one. Or a treatment of leachate by activated carbon. No. Landfill leachate, maybe one word. Absorption or activated carbon, one word separated. So don't mix. Introduction. Any question about the keywords so far? If no question about the keywords, then please allow me to move to the introduction part. Right. So for introduction part, yes. Introduction part, normally I like because it's like story. If you are good story writer, it will be good for you, the introduction to write. It's really like a story because we start from something general to something very specific. You want to tell the reader something to attract their attention and to explain fundamental and recent issues together. So it's really that you are telling a story and preparing the reader to the methodology and what would be the result and so on. Right? So this is the story. What I should have in this introduction and how I should construct it. We need to tell introduction part, why is this study of scientific interest and what is your objective? This one should be clear in your objective. If you fail to show why this study is interesting to the reader or to the journal, and what is your main objective, main contribution, then they might not take it seriously. And to show why is scientific interest, you must show through your story the gap of current information, the gap of current research. What is the gap of knowledge? And from gap of knowledge only you move to your objective. Don't show your objective before gap of knowledge, or you make the gap of knowledge at the last paragraph and then in the middle or whatever you show the objective. You will mislead the reviewer or the editor because they cannot connect. They are expecting your gap of knowledge following the general description of the problem and followed by the objective, and you comment on that one. This is the expectation. This section discussed the result and conclusion of previously published studies. So don't say recent studies and you cite something 10 years, 15 years back. It's not acceptable. When we talk about recent studies, we talk about the last 2, 3, maybe 4 years. But for example, now, when you say recent study, I want to see something 2020, 2021, and 2022, because you can see them online now, right? So the introduction is organized to move from general to specific. Don't move from specific to general, then to specific, then to general, then to specific. Many new researchers, when they come to write, because they are taking certain part of literature from previous literature review, so they will say, oh, this statement is very good, I will take it. Then they will write. Then they will go for specific. Then later they will find another statement very attractive from another paper. Then they will write it after that. So you are moving from general to specific to general again, which is very confusing. And this one is common with your final year project student, if you notice that. They normally will move from specific general to general specific without like following the narrowing down. Sometimes narrowing down, then it's go wider, then it's going narrowing. No, it's supposed to be from general, then specific, more narrow to reach to the limit of your research area. Okay, for example, I would share with you something that about one of my papers. Let's say I'm doing this electropersulfate degradation of, let's say, maybe textile wastewater. I would say textile wastewater produced in Malaysia or globally this amount and containing a lot of organic and inorganic compound, which is difficult to be degraded and will cause environmental and health issue, generally problem. Recently, or generally, let's say, maybe I will say there is many treatment technique, aerobic, anaerobic, maybe advanced oxidation, physiochemical treatment, all right? Each one have some limitation and so on. I will add some references. It's okay to be 5 years back, but later I will say, however, recently there is the research trend is toward moving toward electro degradation, and electro degradation can perform well in terms of treating this non-biologically or non-degradable organic compound, and this oxidation can be shorter time, but there is problem with efficiency, maybe not enough to meet the discharge standard limit. Look, I'm moving from general to specific, and from specific I'm moving to the problem. There is no sufficient efficiency to meet the Malaysian discharge standard, and electrodegradation required high cost. So more recent, or for the last 2 years or 5 years, start people to use co-oxidant to enhance the process. And I will add recent references. For example, Ahmad add this hydrogen peroxide, while John add this potassium permanganate, or this guy add ozonation, right? However, there is no study addressing or trying to test the performance of persulfate integration with electrodegradation. which probably, according to my view or other research, can enhance the process, or based on one reference, enhance the process because this can produce persulfate radical. Therefore, this study aimed to study the performance of electropersulfate to treat this one. So you can see the flow from general to very specific. In this story, I show the general problem of textile. Then softly, I moved without making big gap to the treatment. It's required treatment. So the treatment technique available is like this, conventionally. But recently, with recent literature, recent citation, they have this oxidation and this and that. This one proved to be promising, but we have limitation. What is the limitation? Energy costing and efficiency. So to enhance it, we need some co-oxidants. So I'm proposing this process, right? So you can see general, specific, we have recent literature, gap of knowledge, then objective and justification, right? And this is what we are coming to this chart. First, general description of the problem. I have textile wastewater, right? Then citation, what kind of treatment available and what are the people recently used. I try to focus on the recent study. Later on, novelty, gap. Recently, there is focus on oxidation. However, there is no investigation on electropersulfate, which can enhance the performance because it can release this, for example, this radical or this material which cause oxidation, for example. This is then why we said just now why this study aimed to this and that. And this one, justification, as I said, we could say persulfate is environmentally friendly or will not be as a residual in the final or whatever to justify our selection. So this is from very general to very specific. We have the problem, citation of the recent studies, novelty, objective, justification, and so on. Right? So this is the issue. Same, if I want to test microplastic in the river or water bodies in Malaysia, I will say now microplastic heavily used around the world and it will not be degraded, will stay in environment for a long time. Now from big particle will move to micro nanoparticle and will cause health problem, cannot be treated. So I only want to monitor. So recently in many countries such as in Australia, in China, and USA, they identify the microplastic and nanoplastic in their river and water bodies. However, in Malaysia, there is no study conducted to identify in those kind of rivers. So this is the justification. This study aimed to identify the quantitative and qualitative analysis mean by measurement for the lab for this microplastic in the water bodies in Malaysia, for example, right? So this one, why justification will give us more better understanding about the suitability of water treatment plant for this river water from this source, from let's say Sungai Perak, for example. So something like this. So I can link my story. Do you think my story is good? Maybe. If my story good, then I'm ready because my introduction is like a car or a vehicle taking you from the general to specific and preparing you to move toward your methodology. Now the people are ready to know how you will achieve your objective, how you are going to fulfill this gap of knowledge, how you will address it. People are ready to move to your methodology. Do you agree? If not, then just keep some tips here for introduction. You need to keep or to maintain important references, but maybe how many references you should have? Any limitation? Any question? Any answer? Any limitation? Yep. Let's say maybe Someone want to comment? Dr. Tanzi, what do you think? How many references we should include?
I think there's no limitation, right, Dr. Bashir?
Could be yes and no. Yes and no to me, but maybe we will take from other people's experience as well. Maybe what about Dr. Lim Chai? Please unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think depending on the content of your research.
Yes, depending on the content. Good answer. Dr. Chia Kang?
Yeah, I think mostly about 8 to 10 references like that. Yeah.
8 to 10 references.
No, 10 to 12. Yeah.
10 to 12.
Yeah, I think sometimes it is good to include meta-analysis reference in the introduction part to make your statement stronger.
Yes, understand. Thank you very much. 10 to 10. 10 to 12. Maybe Dr. Who else? Dr. Lomi Bing?
Hi. So about the introductions part, right? So I think there's no specific limit, but I think in the introductions part, most important is relay the background and also the research objective and also the research gap. So in this case, I think so long that that is relevant, but it shouldn't be too many. Now, having said that, another point I think to highlight here is that when we are citing all these references here, we have to make sure that these references are credible references and also so-called good qualities journals. So, and actually I also came across some of those paper that I read. The reference page, right? The references is only one page, but in this reference list here, you can see that they cite all those relevant and important journal in that particular field. So to me, in that context, this is sufficient. That's my point of view. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, two good comments here. We will highlight it more as well. Any other comment? Anyone want to add? No more. Okay. Use recent references. When we talk about the number of references, yes, there is nothing say you have to limit yourself to 5, 10, or 20. But remember to follow the journal structure, journal format, guide to author. I would say, for example, if I go to submit the Journal of Water Science and Technology under IWA, International Water Association, UK, this journal limited the references to 25 and the number of words to 5,000 words, 5,000 maybe plus, but normally 5,000 words. So if I'm going to submit 6,000 words, my paper will be rejected. If I'm going to submit 30 or 40 reference, my paper will be rejected from the technically. So I supposed to comply with the requirement. So my paper, if let's say rejected from the Journal of Environmental Management, maybe I have 50 or 60 references. They might not comment on that one. If I go to submit to Water Science and Technology, same scope, I must reduce the amount, the wording. Right? If I can't, then I can't go to that journal. Simply as that, right? So some journal limit, some journal doesn't limit. But let's say as a reviewer, what I'm looking for. I'm looking as what our colleague just now, she said, for these journals, we supposed to have to cite needed journal. First, up to date, recent journal. Second, to be have real contribution, not only adding for one simple paragraph, 5, 6, 7 references. The author might ask you, please, if he found you that oversight so many references, they will ask you, add one reference for one paragraph. You might receive this comment because that means you just collect 5, 6 references, you never read them, you don't know what is that, you just add them. This is not good indicator. They want the introduction is your own introduction, not copy paste. So limit to the important references, not so many useless references, right? Up to date. And this is in line with what Dr. Lowe just now mentioned, that she found one paper, but all references very strong related and supporting the idea. Yes, normally 10 to 12 references may be a little bit low, not too many, because if you look to my area, for example, I maybe will have easily 20 reference to support the research, recent research in that area. I need some few of them to my research methodology. I need a few to support my result discussion. So 10 might be limited. So they might ask you, you have limited literature review. They might comment on that one, right? So they might comment, you have limited literature review. So probably 10 may be limited, maybe 20 already very good. Can go to 30 or 50, yes, it's possible, because certain paper can go to up to 10 or 12 pages on PDF. That means when you submit on Word format, maybe already 50, including figures and table. So it's possible. So as a conclusion, we don't limit to exact number, but you need to have balance. Equality is the control here. That we have sufficient in-depth review to support our introduction, good references to support our methodology, good references and discussion supported by good quality or high quality citation, right? So this is the thing. We avoid unnecessary citation. We avoid citing all from one author. We avoid too many self-citation. Again, we avoid too many self-citation, but I encourage you for self-citation. I'm contradicting you, right? Is it clear? I'm encouraging you for citation, even your previous paper, but don't overcite yourself. Am I clear about this one? Meaning that normally, let's say I'm working in this field, I'm using different treatment technique, right? In that field. So I can highlight from our previous literature, previous paper, that we study this one, and we cite 2, 3 paper for paper is fine, because it's acknowledgement of our previous work that is related, or we use similar methodology we used before, or we created one patent, then we use this patent for application, then we must cite ourselves. We must acknowledge that. But don't go, let's say you have 20 reference, you have 8 or 10 from your own articles. This is over-citation, over-self-citation. So this is also rejected, right? You can see some people will work in environment, then they'll try to link any paper that they have to this work and just to put the article name. This is not good, right? So this is one of the issue as well. And of course, you follow the journal format onto the total number of pages, word, and references if needed. For review articles, normally there is low limitation. Certain journal can accept 200, but some journal will say to you not less than 120. Some journal will say not more than 150. So a structure and formatting issue is there. You need to be aware of it, right? Yeah, we will talk about the quality of references later on, but this is, we just highlight the number. We of course have one session for that part. Where we are. Yeah, we talk about introduction. Yes, how many references? We just talk about it. The objective part should be at the end. It's very important. Normally, this is very common comment. Novelty not clear. Even you write it, but maybe not clear. So you need to explain it a little bit more. Lengthy introduction with so many citation unnecessary will not be good. Don't make any promise introduction cannot be kept based on your data. Don't say cost saving on energy efficiency if your result does not support or does not cover that part. So don't promise based on literature, promise based on what you are going to support in your result. Don't mix introduction with conclusion. Come to conclusion that this process is very efficient and so on. If so on, so why we need to do the testing and the result? We are expecting, but we don't conclude. Don't cite outdated references or many references from one author, including yourself. Okay, something like expressions such as ever study, never been published before, first study of its kind. You can use if this is exactly, if you check the literature carefully, but don't abuse the word, don't overuse it. Don't claim smart, low-cost, environmentally or eco-friendly if it's not. For example, I can't claim too much about this electro-oxidation that is low-cost. It's not low-cost. But I can compare it at the end based on my result that I reduce the cost comparing with the available one. So I can save some cost, but it's not low cost. So I need to be careful about this kind of things, right? Why we say to be careful about those kind of words? Those words are attractive, catchy, so people would like to use them, right? But what is our advice? Use them, please, when it's really related. Any comment about introduction? Are you ready to move to the methodology? Are you ready? No one is ready? Artan, are you ready to move to the methodology?
Yes, please.
Yes, we go by train. Okay, so now we are moving on to the methodology part. From the aim, we are well prepared what we will do, but we don't know the method. The method will be clarified under this section, material and methods. In this section, we must explain how was the problem studied. The answer is in the method. So this section will provide all the methodological details necessary for another person to duplicate your work. Is a must here to provide all necessary information in your method so other people who want to repeat your work, they can repeat it and they can get similar data. That's why we call it scientific research. What is the difference between scientific research and non-scientific research? Scientific research, we follow solid, concrete procedure under controlling condition to investigate something that is repeatable. So this is what we do. But while non-scientific is just something maybe come by chance. We don't control the condition and we don't know what happened. When we repeat it under this condition might get different data, different information. So in this section, normally for us in engineering, we will cover, for example, in say environment, selection, description of study component, data collection process, method used for analysis, including the exact technical specification, quantity, source, method of preparation, equipment used. All of this one we will use it. Same for the social science. You will talk about maybe study area, for example, sample collection, number of sampling, the analytical procedure that you use or the software, or maybe the questionnaire that you design and how the strategy of data collection that you have, similar things. But here in EG, we will have more equipment to test the performance. So we'll talk about those equipment and their analytical procedure and so on. If you have experimental run, you will talk about the the reactor that you use. So it can be, we can list the properties, procedures that we use. Normally, when we go for the procedures of the methodology modeling that we will use, we need to have supporting references. Let's say I want to investigate the effect of time on something, but I'm studying certain range. Why? I'm using this equipment. Why? I'm using this modeling. Why? Why you use this modeling, not another modeling? Why use this method, not another method? Support from reference. Sampling method. Why? Any supporting reference? You are doing survey. Why you use 100 sample in Kambar, not 1,000? You are doing for Malaysia. Why you use 300, not more, not less? Based on what probability you use? You do it software. Why you use this software? Which modeling you use under this software? And so on. How many times you repeat your experimental? Why? Because we want something reliable, right? Maybe like just we share one example for you here for data collection. Material and method normally section 2, 2.1. Now we have subsections. That's why I say material and method is one section. Even in thesis for all engineering science, we prefer 5 chapter style. Introduction, methodology, sorry, 4 chapters. Introduction, sorry, 5. Introduction, literature review, material and method, result discussion, and conclusion. Normally we prefer that one. So under them there is subsections. So you can see the sample from where collected. For those people who's working in similar field, be careful when you mention the company name or the source of data collection. You need permission. You need permission because certain people do not like to disclose their information. They don't want to share that you collect this sample from them. Particularly like in our field, environmental, when we go to the real site, they are very aware and concerned that our data will be online, then the government will question them and so on. They don't want to share. So normally we promise them. We only publish if they permit us to publish from where the sample collected. Otherwise, we should say like from BIRA or whatever. So things should be very clear about site location or sample collection. For what to consider, you should consider explanation of your experiment or study. When you write, this one should be a narrative, not a list of instruction. And this is very funny. Normally, when you undergraduate student, of course, I don't think so. You can see this issue with the researcher, like your case already well established. But for very new beginner, especially like undergraduate, you will see in their final year project thesis, when they write about the procedure, they write like the manual. They copy from the manual. Add 2 drops of this solution, shake it 2 minutes. It's like instruction. And this is totally wrong when writing methodology. This is enough reason to reject because I will know the quality is so bad, meaning that. So otherwise, we will give them resubmission for the paper. And if this happens in any paper, I will believe that the supervisor never checked. I can identify from this issue that supervisor never checked because it should not be missed from that level. Don't include result in method. And this is another indicator that the supervisor may not checking that the student work or no one else check the work from the co-author. When we have this, you have mixing result and discussion in the methodology part, or you have, as I said, references in the abstract part. or you have this material and method, but for the procedure you follow the instruction. For the procedure, we just say conducted according to this manual. You no need to list down. You just go for short and citation. This one is very carefully inspected by the reviewers because based on the quality of methodology, you can get trustable data. Otherwise, how to trust if you don't trust the methodology? Okay. Coming to the result and discussion. Any issue with the methodology part? I will share with you later on, maybe by the end of today, one article with those methodology, literature, and so on, and share with you how we present and how we do. But for the time being, any comment on this methodology? No comment on the methodology part. So you are ready to move to the result and discussion, right? Very well. Okay, for result and discussion part, is very easy. Although it's the major part that you have, but it's very easy. A very good result discussion will be summarized by those four words. Based on sequence, present, describe, discuss, compare. This is your result and discussion. Nothing more than that. Normally, you receive that your result discussion part is poor, not up to the level, there is no in-depth discussion, or just reporting the data without discussion. Those actually measure comment for can cause rejection. How to avoid this one? Revisit your paper and think. Do you present? Most of you will present the result, meaning that you will say table 1 or table 2, right? Demonstrate the removal efficiency, for example, or will demonstrate the amount of methane production from anaerobic digestion, for example. And then you will list the figure. So you just present. You say table 1 shows something, and you insert table 1. This is, we call it present. Then all of you normally will have this one. And most of you will have the second part, describe. So present, all we have. Describe, majority we have. Whereby after we present the table, or we put it with indication in the text about table 1 shows or demonstrate what, we will say, according to this figure, to the figure 1, for example, when the temperature increase, the removal efficiency, for example, will be increased. Right? However, when it's reached to, let's say, 50, the value dropped to this amount and then increase later after this amount to this amount. This is description. And most of us have it. If you stop here, your paper is weak. You need to discuss why this happened. Why, when the temperature increased, the removal increased, and why, when it's reached to 30 or 40, this one value dropped down and then increased. What happened? Your discussion or justification at this stage must be supported by related references and not limited to references. It could be enough, but if you can have another data to support your finding from your own result will be very good. For example, I would say this one reduced because when increasing the temperature, it will burn those inert or the what we call enhance the porosity inside the activated carbon, for example. This is discussion. according to, for example, LIM 2020. Right? However, when it's at 40, we can see the result drop. Why? Because Young 2021 say when the temperature is very high, even this carbon, well, the structure will be burned. So it's become more disturbance to the porosity. So from this one to this one, we develop the porosity. After that one, by temperature, is burned. So it's more to collapse. And that's why the things decline again. So I'm providing discussion. Okay. Can I enhance my discussion? Yes. So we measure at this temperature, for that one, we measure the porosity, let's say by machine. And at this temperature, we measure the porosity. We found that at this temperature is more than this. So now for discussion part, I have strong evidence. No one in the world can argue with my result because I have support from literature, but something very additional, I have strong support from my own extra experiment. Right? Then discussion is strong. Yes, I believe at this stage you have a very strong discussion. Right? A very strong discussion. Same for the survey questionnaires. Sometimes you have a question to support the finding of another question. Let's say, you are doing recycling? No. Are you aware? Yes. If you are aware but not doing recycling, there is gap. Should be something else. Why he's not willing? Maybe if you ask, what is the things discourage you or not motivate you to do recycling? You will see, okay, smelly, you will see no cost return, you will see no facility. Then we understand why. So this one support the first question. Why the result like this? Because they don't have facility. So something like this in the questionnaires. Last one, but this might not be very common with all. Few people will do comparison. Can we compare our result with others? Some people will do in statement. Some people will do in table format to compare their main finding with the literature. And basically, we did sometimes, but not always. Mostly we focus on discussion, comparing under discussion. But sometimes also we are going for compare under this one. How it will be like this one? Let us focus on that one in detail. This section presents the result of the experiment and their discussion. What information to include or exclude is very important. Again, remember, your manuscript will not cover all your thesis or your PhD project. Your PhD project, you can produce 4, 6, up to the content. I don't know, right? But normally like that. No need to present the raw data. Avoid presenting the raw data. If it's necessary, it will be under supplementary. Remember, under supplementary data requested from the journal. Summarize the data with text, table, and figures. Figures is more important than table because it's more readable, but sometimes you can't present data in figures because it's too many, so table will be more suitable. But generally, figure is much readable. But too many data in the figure, you cannot differentiate, so will be table format. Use the text to state the result, then refer to the reader to a table or figure, and then discuss it. So first, you need to indicate the table. Don't present the table before you say table 1, show, or whatever. Indicate it first. Don't duplicate data. Don't present the data in table and figures. And this is quite common for the new researcher. You will say, oh, I can create from this table very attractive figure. So why you need to present the table then? No need. Right? Even when you have the result in table or figures, you no need to repeat the tables and figure in your manuscript. You just comment on the most significant trend or point and justify it with the discussion. So you no need to repeat all the number. Try to analyze your data. If you have statistical analysis of your data, this will give higher impact. Does not mean you can't publish without statistical. Yes, you can do, but statistical information might give higher or better impact. Be honest, don't omit data that do not support your hypothesis or conclusion, meaning that you can show the things that affect negatively your study or positively. Discuss and explain what does the result mean and why they are different from others. This is part of discussion comparison. You need to number your table figures separately. Normally, we will submit for you who submit to Web of Science journals, especially Sevier, Springer, Wiley, Taylor and Francis. Normally, we submit the list of figures, list of tables, separate from the manuscript, right? Normally like this one. I'm not sure about IEEE because I'm not really publishing there out of my field, but I think could be like that. I'm not sure, but I'm saying about those multidisciplinary main publisher is something like this. Figures and tables will be separated normally. And we said here, avoid using figure that's showing too many variables so you cannot understand. In that case, table will be better. Let us look to good graph and bad graph as we are here. What do you think? Is this one good graph? Maybe A.R. Tan, would you like to comment on this one? A.R. Tan, please.
Sorry, what do you like? What do you want me to comment?
On this figure, any comment? Do you think this is good figure format or any problem?
No, no problem.
Yes. If you look to this one, actually it's clear, but of course there is some comment. For example, if you go to X and Y axis, what is the title? Should be title there for X, Y axis, right? Second, the title of the figure is better to be down, not above. Another one, if you look to this, the grid here, for Y-axis, normally we remove it, no need. But otherwise, things clear. Comparing with table, if we have a table, you can see which one is more attractive, the figure or the table. For same data, the figure is more attractive here, right? Okay, but coming to the same one, when we come here, same figure, graph is bad. Why? Can you identify this one? Anyone want to comment? This figure considered bad quality, right? Why? Maybe
yeah. Hi, Dr. Bashir. Maybe I can comment. I think it's the color.
Color is so bad, right?
Yeah, the background and the color is kind of clash.
Okay, good. So maybe I ask also, yes, Dr. Low?
Yeah, sorry, Prof. Sometimes certain journals, right, when you are submitting for publication, they will ask you to have they will have something like you are not supposed to have color code. And then if you have certain color code, then there will be some additional charges. So I think in this case, usually we try to make it black and white. So we do not want to have a certain color code. So, but of course, the first sample is better than the second one. Thanks, Dr. Bashir.
Yes, true. So the color code, one issue, and of course, on that matter, because some of them will charge you, even will ask you how many figures you want to publish in color and so on. Anyway, this is one issue, but also the background, even the color background is bad, correct? This is another point. Any additional comment? Maybe Dr. To Chiaming?
Can you let me see the graph again?
Yeah, you don't see the graph.
Yeah. Just now was just a glimpse, right?
Yes. Okay. This one.
There's no title.
No title. Yes. No
Yeah.
title.
And the grid lines are kind of overlapping with the numbers that it's giving, so it's a bit ugly, I think.
So the font is not suitable. So the title and subtitle for X and Y you cannot see, right? The font is very small, and these lines, vertical and horizontal, should be removed. I should have something like this, right?
Yeah, that is a lot better.
Yes. This is different graph. This is from one of our published articles in Water Science and Technology. So it's something like this. It's very clear, systematic. You can see the subtitle, title, no vertical, horizontal grid. The title is clear, informative, and that's it. Very simple. And then another title is here. You can see figures. Is a trend showing. The font is clear. As our friend just now said, we avoid color. Some depend on the journal as well. So the key is here clear. The title must be sufficient, meaning that stand alone to describe the figure. So you need to have what is this figure presenting, what is the operational condition. Should be sufficient information under the caption of the figure. You look to this table format, similar thing. This is standard table format that we can use. So many data I can't present in figure. So in that case, we have that to present in table to show it. And simply there is no vertical horizontal lines. This is the way they show. Most of the journals similar style, most of them. So if we talk about additional tips, you should interpret your result in light of other published results, even though it may disagree with yours. Relate your discussion back to the objectives and question you raised in the introduction section. Limit your conclusion to those that your data can actually support. Suggest a future direction at the end of your discussion. I said to you before, if you remember, present, describe, discuss, compare. Can I compare in table format? Yes. I will share with you one from one of our paper under, I think, Water Science and Technology as well. The last table in our result and discussion was to compare, we call it half inhabitation concentration of heavy metals on Anammox bacteria. So basically this experimental work conducted in Taiwan. And then what will happen here, what we test is the iron. Other people did for cadmium, copper, lead, mercury, nickel, silver, zinc, right? Then what we do, this is their result and this is their reference. This is our result. And I can't put this one under introduction because this is not part of introduction. Those researchers may be highlighted there to say they test this one and that one, but to justify the need to test iron. But later when come to the result, I want to compare with them. I found that this would be attractive when I make it like this. And it was true, and we got accepted for that because they found this one interesting. Anyway, so this is one of the comparison with other literature. It is important to cite source in the discussion section as evidence of the claim you are making. Don't repeat material that was presented in other section before, like material and method, procedure. Sometimes the student will come to do repeating the procedure of testing. I no need. I already review it at your methodology. Right. We go to the conclusion. At around maybe 10 minutes later or less, we will take one break, about 15 to 20 minutes. Now let me continue the additional tips about result and discussion. Sorry, about conclusion. Conclusion is almost the last part of your manuscript body, the main body of writing. You need to use an effective and strong closing. Your audience is likely to remember your last word, same like your presentation. We will use a conclusion to summarize the main point of presentation, suggest future room of research or direction of research, right? So certain procedure about the conclusion. First, it will summarize or supposed to summarize the results, supposed to summarize your results, summarize the main discussion. There is no limitation 100 words. Even if you have 100 words, you will say this is very limited conclusion. Normally will be maybe a little bit longer than your abstract. We'll summarize a little bit more the discussion, give major finding and implication, justification, the future direction of research or recommendation, it can be under that one. But remember, do not duplicate your abstract. Cannot be another abstract. Although the content, there is a bit similarity, but should not be a repetition of it. Clear about conclusion? Any comment?
No comment so far, so good. Thanks.
Okay, so if no comment, I will move to references. I will move to references.
Sorry, Dr. Bashir, I had a question just now regarding the conclusion. Can I?
Yeah.
Can I? Okay. I heard you said the data are described and well explained in the results and discussion. So in the conclusion, can we repeat just the important data that we have found, or we could just overall conclude it based on our objective and hypothesis?
Yes, this is exactly what I'm doing, but I'm rewriting.
Okay.
I will focus on the most important data, will highlight it, and will try to link it with my objective, right? This is the issue. Because I promise in abstract, this is what we will do, right? I will link them with my promise earlier and with the novelty, sustainability, if for my case, and so on. But exactly this one. That's why for me, conclusion is not difficult. If I write it from the beginning, it will be very difficult. But at the end, abstract and conclusion will be very easy.
Correct.
But be aware, don't duplicate the statement. You need to re-highlight the result. Yes, it's re-highlighting the issue, but it's not duplicating the same statement. Okay. Although if you use a few words same or one line, two lines same, no one will observe. It's okay, right? So it's possible.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
So, Paul, I have one question. So, what are the main difference abstract from the conclusion? Sometimes it's somehow more or less similar.
There is some similarity, yes. There is some similarity, I would say, but don't make it another abstract. For example, when you talk about future recommendation and research, this one try to make it in conclusion, not in abstract. Recommendation and future direction of research, there. Okay, yes. Justification of your research, why you need to do this research, should be in your abstract, not in your conclusion. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
So in abstract, I go to more to justify the need for this research. But for conclusion, I focus more on the last part, which is recommendation. Right? But both have some little bit similarity when it comes to result and discussion. This is the part that you should avoid repetition. You can, for example, in abstract, focus on the optimum value only and link it with your objective. Maybe in the conclusion, you go wider, also highlight the statistical analysis or the trend little bit, what happened, right? So this is can be.
All right, thank you.
Definitely. That's why when you, before you submit, you need to look to two. This is conclusion and this is abstract, right? You need to differentiate between them to avoid repetition or duplication.
Dr. Pacho, would it be good to put these conclusions right in this point form? Because based on what we observed from many journal papers, right, some of it, the conclusion they put in paragraph. So would it be good for us to write in point form?
You mean conclusion?
Yes.
Right? Okay, very good question. It's depend. For example, for review articles, normally we have a lot of recommendation and point extracted, right? So what I would prefer for review article to have conclusion at the end, but before conclusion, I will have recommendation and future perspectives. Under recommendation and future perspectives or future research direction, this is for me always, I will have it in my review article. This one I will go to discuss the finding and recommendation. And in that case, recommendation can be supported from literature because I don't want to add references in conclusion. But recommendation, we can also get the help from other references. So I can put it under that section called recommendation and future perspectives. However, if you don't have that long section, you have only short, you might go just paragraph, a long paragraph, 200 words, which is very common. And also, if you want to make point form, you can make it, let's say, 250 words, maybe the first 50 words, general comment, and then say the following recommendation would be proposed. You make it short form 1, 2, 3. But don't go from the beginning 1, 2, 3, 4. No. You got what I mean?
Okay, noted. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. So this is what we have here for this part. Any other question about the conclusion? Definitely conclusion, there is no figures, no tables. If you have a lot of things, discussion, references, tables, figures, some tables or figures that you create, future things, make another section at the end of result discussion under result called the future perspective, future research direction. Right? So this is to differentiate. We expect conclusion is your own word. Right? So I'm moving to this back acknowledgement. Yes. Now, acknowledgement. Who I should acknowledge? I should acknowledge the company where I select my sample. I should acknowledge the one who provide for me free software. I should acknowledge my institution for the funding. I acknowledge my colleagues who check my language, but he's not contributing to the scientific knowledge. I must acknowledge one professor outside who's not up to the level, let's say, or to the, he's not authorship, but he's contributing and advice on the things. Acknowledge my friend who teach me how to use software. Acknowledge lab staff if they help you to do the work. It's up to you, right? You can acknowledge them. So who contribute to this one, right? So but contribution does not involve researching should not appear in acknowledgement. You cannot acknowledge my friend who bring for me a cup of tea, then I was able to concentrate, right? Please give him another cup of tea for appreciation. But it's not the place to acknowledge here because this is not contribution to the paper and the result, right? So based on this one, we can move to another part here, or maybe we can take break if you wish. Would you like to have break? Okay, everyone say yes.
Yes.
So,
yes,
okay.
please.
Yes.
We can back at 3:15. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, all right.
Okay. You can take rest. 3:15.
Okay.
Yeah. Bye bye.